and thank you for joining us on True Story, I'm a Serial Killer. Today, we will be exploring the story of Nannie Doss, responsible for killing 11 people. Nannie was born in Blue Mountain, Alabama, as Nancy Hazel. As a child, Nannie and her siblings were forced to work on the family farm by her tyrant father, James Hazel. Playing time and toys were forbidden, as well as friends. Because of her lack of socialization, Nannie dreamed of love and was addicted to her mother's romance magazines. As she became old enough to date, Nannie was forbid by her father from nice-looking clothes, makeup, silk stockings, and anything that would make her attractive. This sheltered childhood made Nannie very bitter and resentful. She blames most of her problems on an injury she received at the age of 7.
When I was 7 years old, my family and I went down to Alabama to visit family. We were on the train and all of a sudden it stopped. I flew forward and slammed my little head on the iron frame in front of me. It was quite awful, actually. Still to this day, I get headaches and terrible, terrible blackouts.
Could this accident have been responsible for the dementia? Most criminologists disagree. As Nannie got a little older, she became a neighborhood slut. She snuck away from her father for a quick roll in the hayloft with the local boys. One day, Nannie Hazel brought home Charlie Braggs, her co-worker at the linen thread company. Her father approved of him, and 4 months later, they were married. However, it was not the happy marriage she hoped for.
I married this boy my father wished. I married this boy as my father wished, but I had hoped to escape his overpowering way. But my new mother-in-law was exactly the same way. She controlled her son completely, and he listened to her over me every old time. I hated her. She ran everything in my life. Let's see. Me and Charlie had 4 daughters. Well, the oldest was Malvina, and the youngest was Florine. I don't seem to remember the middle 2. They died, you see, quite young.
I never trusted that woman. We both slept around, but it wasn't that. It was more. I was scared of her. We all were. She killed our 2 daughters. She was just tired of feeding them. I took Malvina with me and left. We were gone for a year, and I found another woman. I brought her home with me. Eventually, Nannie got the hint. She left and took the girls with her. I count myself lucky to have gotten away. Nannie had returned to her family's house, where she took to the Lonely Hearts column. There, she met Frank Harrelson. At first, their marriage was great, but after the honeymoon glam wore off, she realized he was an alcoholic.
Oh yes, I was married to Frank for 16 years. He drank a lot. I had to pick him up from the cops many times. He must have smacked other people around like he did to me. Oh, Frank.
In the meantime, Nannie's 2 daughters had married. Malvina, the oldest, had 1 child, Robert, and by the time he was 2, she was pregnant again. After a long and hard labor, Malvina was resting and had left the baby in Nannie's care. During the night, the baby died. Malvina swears she woke in the night to see Nannie sticking a hat pin into the newborn's head. The other family members also recall seeing Nannie with such a pin during the time at the hospital. Otherwise, the baby's death was unaccounted for. 6 months later, Robert, Malvina's other child, died while in Nannie's care. The doctor said the child died of asphyxia. Nannie seemed to be heartbroken. However, Nannie had now refined her skills. She now knew how to kill and how to get away with it. It was the night that Japan surrendered in the war. I was ready to celebrate. I had been out at the tavern all night, and when I came home, I wanted my wife to welcome me. She wasn't all too willing to celebrate in bed, if you know what I mean. Well, I threatened her and I said, if you don't listen to me, woman, I ain't gonna be here next week. Ah!
The next day, I was tending my little old rose garden, and I found Frank's liquor jar. I poured some of that drink out, and I filled it with rat poisoning. By that evening, he was dead. I got even for him trying to rape and beat me. He wasn't my Prince Charming anyway.
After a few unaccountable years, Nannie wound up in Lexington, North Carolina, and married to Arlie Lanning, another find in the Lonely Hearts column. During this time, Nannie traveled a lot. She spent a lot of time wandering around, cheating on her husband. I didn't care that Nannie left me. It was because of my womanizing and my drinking that she left. When she came home, though, I promised that I would be the perfect husband, and I tried. I really did. To me, she seemed to be the perfect public wife. The town explained her absences as visits to family. When she was home, though, the whole town, especially the church community, thought her to be the best wife a guy could have. They thought her way more worthy than me. They disliked me, that church she belonged to. They really did. Arlie died suddenly.
Why, he just sat down one morning to drink a cup of coffee and eat a bowl of prunes I specially prepared for him. Up until then, why, let me tell you, he looked in fine shape. Then, well, 2 days later, dead. I nursed him, believe me, I nursed him, but I failed. Poor Arlie. You know what he said to me before he breathed his last? Nannie, he said, Nannie, it must have been the coffee.
8 weeks after Arlie died, the house they had lived in burned to the ground. Nannie had conveniently left the house with the TV set and settled in with Arlie's mother. The insurance company sent her the check for the house, which she cashed and took off. Only after Arlie's mother suddenly died in her sleep. From there, she went to her sister Dovey's. Dovey was reportedly ill. However, she also died in her sleep shortly after Nannie arrived. At age 47, Nannie belonged to the Diamond Circle Club, where she met Richard Morton and moved into his house in Emporia, Kansas. However, again, Nannie didn't find the Prince Charming she was looking for. Nannie wanted me to be faithful to only her. Well, I'd been seeing as many women as I wanted for years. I wasn't gonna change. But I don't know why she complained. Every time I brought something for them, I bought something for her too. What else could a gal ask for? I don't know. Women. Nannie began taking out other single ads in the paper and plotting her current husband's death, when her father died and mother came to stay with her.
Why, she just got in the way.
Nannie killed her mother. After only a couple days with her daughter, she fell ill of stomach pains and died. 3 months later, Richard Morton died of the same symptoms. Soon after Richard's death, Nannie married one of her pen pals, Samuel Doss. I'm a straight and narrow man. I don't chase women. I don't smoke, don't drink, don't curse, and I definitely don't play dice. I'm a careful man in both my appearance and my bank account. All I wanted later in life was a womanly companion who was a good cook and would stay by my side. I think what really put my wife over the edge was our different ways. I would not allow her to watch that accursed television when all she would have on was love stories. And those romance novels were such a waste of time. She would insist on wasting electricity and ruining the furniture. But then she left me. I felt so alone without her that I opened up my bank account, and in the end, it was all to make her happy. I even gave her the same privileges on the bank account that I had for myself.
One night, I made Samuel a prune cake, my specialty. That night, he took to his bed with stomach pains. When he didn't get better, the doctor sent him to the hospital where he stayed for 23 days. He eventually got all better, and when he came home, I made him a pork roast and coffee. That night, he died.
It was the coffee that Nannie laced with arsenic. The doctor who had taken care of Samuel ordered an autopsy. Nannie was quickly arrested. When the police interrogated her, Nannie feigned innocence. The whole time, she was giggling at their accusations.
Them little boys at the police station, they were trying to tell me I killed my husband.
Nannie eventually confessed to the murders, but the whole time she felt completely justified for her doings. After her confession, police exhumed the bodies of those who died suddenly around the old woman. She pleaded guilty to poisoning Doss and was sent away to life in prison. She was spared the death penalty because she was a woman. Nannie died in prison of leukemia in 1965. She spent out the remainder of her days dreaming of the love she never found.